Welcome, everyone, to the 331st weekly MLP Drawing School live critique stream. It is July 5th? July 5th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
Crazy.
You know, it was a certain somebody's birthday, not so many days ago. So I think we should all celebrate. Happy belated birthday to the one and only Fluffy's Eye.
Oh my god. Oh my god, I get air horns.
You get
Nice.
air
horns.
horns. You know, we're celebrate. We couldn't normally. We like to celebrate everyone's birthday when it's near a stream, and this is the closest stream to yours. So
Well, thank
this one's for
you.
you,
Thank you
Fluff.
so much. Aw,
Yes, the stream is for
very
you.
nice of you. All
Now
the
do your
art is
job
for
and
me.
critique the art.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's your present.
Nice.
Well, as you can hear, we got a small horde of people today. We got Alley Claw.
Hello.
We got a Fluffy's Eye.
Yeah.
And scratching from inside the walls, there's a CPC. Probably won't hear them, though.
And of course, there's you, the living dead. All
Whoa.
of you.
Right, all of me.
The best zombie. Well, because, sometimes parts fall off because you're a zombie, but
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fair.
we collected them all. We have to
It's
collect
like,
them all every week.
Theseus's ship, you know?
Mm.
At what point? Which is
You've been like 18 different zomzoms by this point.
All right, let's do this. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm not quite sure if we have enough canvas to do any more pictures, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And let's just fire this thing off. We got a first picture submitted by Citrus, and it's I was wondering if there's anything I could do lighting-wise to increase the contrast to make the background look darker and bring attention towards Nightmare Moon. I was thinking of having her like glowing tentacles made of magic creeping from the background to the foreground, increasing the brightness as it gets closer to the foreground. They are that top left-hand corner, by the way.
Need to pick a color that'll actually show up. That might
Green.
be useful. Green,
Pink?
you say. We'll do green. We'll mess around with green.
So yeah.
This is mainly contrast issue, right? They're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Make them pop. You're definitely on the right path. Making, getting, like, very stark contrast going is a wonderful way of drawing attention to the areas you're looking for. And you can really cheat when you're using stuff like magic, because it doesn't have to follow full light rules. It's a drawing. It's magic. If you can make magic follow a rule, I want to see you base it on science, which doesn't work. So just do it. Just have fun with it.
Because something I'm thinking of is like a way to really increase contrast is to, really face off against black and white. Because this won't be a grayscale drawing, but when you have the opposite sides of your value scale next to each other, that's going to bring the most contrast and the most pop. So right now we have Luna being very dark against a very dark background. And you talked about wanting magic and such, and I think that's a great idea. In fact, go a step further. The tentacles are great, and I think if you want that for her, go for it. But also, she's the moon princess, right? She could have this ethereal glow to her, this soft moonlit glow coming from her, and you could basically have her silhouetted in this like soft moony glow. This program isn't the best for demonstrating these types of effects, but like having her surrounded by that. And it can flesh out. Again, not great tools. I would use a much different tool in my other program. But having her be, having that white glow or even like a little yellowish or a little blue, like just very light glow surrounding her will have her pop like crazy from the background. So something to consider, something to play with. It doesn't even have to be that strong because of how dark your background is. It just needs something on the opposite value scale to kind of sit next to it. So there's kind of like it's like a sandwich, right? Dark Luna, light, and then dark sky.
Yeah. Also, be careful if you're trying to make the contrast really pop a lot and you're just trying to draw all the attention possible to the main character. It looks like you've done these sort of like snaky lines hanging around the ground. They're really cool, but you want to tame them quite a bit, not make them so the light source on them so large. Because the larger it is, the more attention it's going to grab. If it's small little wisps of light and like a sort of dim glow, you're going to get a lot better contrast on that for the viewer. And what I mean by that is a movie from, I think, a decade ago, Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
Oh man.
They do amazing, like, ethereal wisps. Let me see. That's when they enter the Gaia scene. Just trying to remember where that was. Do the Googles. Okay, well, I'm not coming up with any results real quick. But looking towards like anime and CG will be a great one to get that sort of ethereal wisp sort of looking thing. And it might work a lot better than just like flat ones, like flat ribbons. I think there's also good ones in some of Studio Ghibli stuff. Trying to remember though. Either way, resources or grab more references is what I'm trying to say. Harvest some good references and abuse them. Collect them, look around them, absorb what they're doing, pull elements from it. I really like how they do the contrast in these wisps, and I really like the magic they're using here and how it sort of glows around an area, and you pull that into your own picture. That's how you can really quickly advance your pictures. You don't have to pull it out of nowhere, because art's not made in a void. It's not made out of nothing. You gotta pull from some type of resource.
And one other little thing you can do to really help that contrast is up above. I just drew a little chibi Luna with kind of the lighting idea I had going on. Again, it can be cleaned up in a better program with more control, but rim lighting, these little thin lines of white also really help pop and like show the distinctive lines of form in the darkness. Just needs a little bit of light to hit it, and it'll show through and really pop.
Hey, Jenny's on the same level. Prince
yeah.
Mononoke, Ethereal Forest. There you go.
I watched that recently.
Nice. Right, I don't see them on the stream or in our voice chat, so I think we've answered that. I definitely want to see what your next pass on this picture looks like. There's corrections you can do to the character, but your question centered around the lighting, so that's what we focused on. As far as the character, go grab your references too. If you go look on our subreddit, you'll find on the sidebar a bunch of great guides under beginner guides and exterior guides and tutorials on how to reference and compare for building up characters, and it will help you correct this character more than us just drawing over top of it. Because at this point, I think building up your references and how you use them is more beneficial to you than us just telling you, yes, make the leg longer. No, don't make the neck like this. Because you got to build your tool set.
Yeah. Art isn't just like one big experience bar. It's just like a toolbox of little tricks that you learn over time.
Exactly. Right. Let's boot, scoot, and boogie to our next one. And we got Pinkie Pie getting ready to cut a cake, I assume.
Totally, absolutely. Yep.
Yep. This one is by... I just clicked off of it. There it is. It is by Foxternal. Yes. Foxternal, marked as not safe for work as second picture includes blood. Wasn't sure if that's counted as gore or not. Thank you for marking it as not safe for work. Hi, this is my second MLP art, and I'd like to know if there's any thoughts on shading, because I'm not used to soft shading and don't think I'm very good at it. Ha ha ha. Any other general critique is greatly appreciated too. Thank you for asking questions. We love people who ask questions. In fact, some people might notice that their things aren't being critiqued by us. And it's because we're only choosing so many pictures a week. I think we capped it at 3 that don't have questions. So if you're looking for critique on our weekly live stream, ask questions. Even putting the questions in your title works for us, or put them in your post. We look at every single post to see if there's questions. So do them.
Let's see. So soft shading can be a tricky one to get used to at first. And I know it differs from person to person. I've heard people say that you should like look at cell shading first because that's while it's a much cleaner form of shading, it really helps you learn how to block out your shadows. Because soft shading can essentially just be cell shading that was just softened.
So I do it.
Yeah. So that could be a way to approach this. So you get a little more practice on getting confident where those shadows fall with very strict lines, strict actions, strict placement. But as far as I can see here is I think you have a good idea, but you should push more. Your shadow is barely visible. I think a lot of people fear about putting too much shadow into something, but especially in the realm of digital art, we have transparency sliders that we can toggle, or even we have erasers that we can, do a really soft eraser on top of it and bring it down a little bit. But don't be afraid to go too far because then you'll see where things pop, you'll see how things are affected, you'll see how different lights have maybe a really strong shadow, like underneath her carriage here, like under her tummy there might be a very nice strong shadow, but like when it comes to her leg it might loosen up over the different areas. But there definitely be areas of pop, or even like there's specific places that will definitely get not a lot of light, like right under her chin will be blocked, but it'll loosen up as we get to like the arms or chest or head. But that's something
Yeah,
I recommend.
definitely. Here's my tablet pen. I've lost it. Oops. There it is.
I do like where you've started on this. Like your soft shading that is on the original picture is actually a very good start. The question is, so in these, at least from my view, in these cases, especially Pinky in the sort of context that she's in, I don't think she was hard lit in the original animation where she showed up like this. So if you're aiming for something that's harder lit, setting your light source, so in this case, I love to draw my light source on here, and basically every single picture that I am shading, and that is draw the light source. In this case, I like to do directional arrows. That is 3D arrow that points in the direction, so I always have a place to look back at. And that's going to really help you ensure that your lighting or that your shading and highlighting is all consistent, because you can always look back and go, okay, where's the light? Where is it being cast from? How's a shadow work on this area? Very useful. You love her fluffy ears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They're really
fluffy
cute.
ears are good. This sort of, I don't know how to describe the style, but the way you've been doing the shapes is really cool. It's like it almost reminds me a little bit of the like Crystal Ponies in some way, where everything's sort of a bit sort of blobby and polygonal almost, but not quite. It's still like rounded. It's very cartoony, and I think it's interesting.
Hmm. I would shrink out the start of that tail dock just a bit. It's really large. It covers her entire butt right now, and that's going to be hard for her later, especially sitting. So just moving that thing up to follow the spine is going to help you on that one.
Yeah, just keep in mind in future pictures where you connect the tail. It's a real easy mistake. One of the most common things we have to point out. So don't worry about it.
Either that or ears.
Actually, I feel like her. Why can't I draw? I'm like super zoomed into the page. Where's my layers have disappeared to the side? Oh no,
No layers!
I can't draw. Oh, there we go. Okay, I have the ability to draw. I feel like her ear coming out the side here maybe feels a bit off. So we look at her face, and the center is like here, and it goes to her. She's got a really like long snout. Her eyes should naturally be sort of sitting in these like sockets here. You got the bridge of the nose, other eye. Oops, taller than that. Silly's eye. But the ear should be, if you draw like the sort of side of the face, it's not an exact sphere. We can now see where the ear is supposed to go. So this one is mostly fine. Just maybe push it out to the edge a little bit so it's not overlapping the eye socket. But then the other one, if we follow, this is behind the head, but if we follow the sort of back of the skull, it's sort of around here behind the head. So I feel like the ear will be pushed back a little bit, and like is maybe a little tip of it here visible, but most of it I think is going to be behind the hair. Because don't forget with this front part of her mane, if we didn't have the thing on her head on, it goes kind of like this. This color is hard to see. I'm sorry, I can't pick a better one. Um, Her mane kind of comes out from behind the head in like a mohawk type of thing, and it goes up and around to this little flick here. Um, and that goes, that's in front of the ear. It's basically coming in front of the face, like it's hanging down in front of the face, maybe off to the side a little bit, but mostly it's going to be in front of the ear. So maybe just do a little bit of a thing there and push the ear back, and work fine.
Right,
I feel like you could probably. No, sorry, I was just going to say. I feel like you could probably simplify like this hoof a little bit, and probably just do something like just have this like pushed against that instead of this like curling around here. I feel like it'll work just as a simplification of things. But yeah, good picture.
All right, let's move on to our next one.
Yippee-ki-yay.
This one is by Amazing Lifeguard 641, and it's Fluttershy
Well, we know
redesigned.
what their job is.
Well, the name makes sense because it's an amazing picture.
Hey,
He's so cute. I love the body type. I love the body shape.
Yeah, I love this picture. This is the first one that drew my attention when I came onto the canvas. It's very, very cute. I didn't realize it was an alternate universe Fluttershy.
And these way that the like little cloveny ends of the hooves look. I really like how that's done.
Yeah, me too.
I think Fluttershy should always have flowers in her mane and tail.
Yeah, agreed.
Even just like waking up, they're just sort of growing out of there, or mice have just like stored them in there for later.
Yeah, little birds just flew. Ooh.
Did they ask any questions?
No.
No.
They did explain the fact or that she's not the Pegasus. They just wanted felt like it was a more interesting approach, and Generation 5 was going to have Unicorn Fluttershy before they decided to create a new character. A group of butterflies is called a flutter, so the name can still work.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
believe they were originally having the species swap mean 6 instead of a new world. Like, that's weird.
Yeah, you try a whole
I
bunch
do
of
like
things and see what sticks.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I do like seeing artists interpret things though. Where is she posed? Because, oops, if we look at how the two back legs are positioned, they're a little bit sort of forward from the front legs. So her legs aren't like exactly equal to one another. So I'm just trying to figure out like the plane.
I'll just say a quick thing while you're working on that. I would move this ear poking out to the side here and just tuck it behind her so you kind of have that matchy, like they're both pulled back. Because otherwise it just feels like this little tiny thing poking out to the side doesn't really feel
Mm.
like the
I
ear,
think,
especially since it's like twice as small as the other ear.
yeah, I think if you zoom in like right at this corner, it makes this sort of shape. It like dips up at the end, and I think because it dips up there, it's not really like feeling like it connects to everything. So like if you do want to keep it here, it's probably good to like just have the just have it keep going down, feel a bit more substantial and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I do like changing it over to be around the back. It feels nice as well. It's all
So
personal preference.
this piece of fluff over at the left by the chest, you have it placed behind the scarf. I would almost place it between the scarf, like cover up a chunk of the scarf with it instead. And the only reason I'd say that is because the scarf appears to be centered down her chest there, and for that fluff to be popping off only one side but not both sides, it feels a little like it's not quite supposed to be there. I would also reduce the fluff a little bit. I know it's a crazy thing to say, reduce the fluff, but just
How do you?
taming it just a touch so things like thistles and that don't get stuck into it might be useful for her.
Maybe if this already
But
got stuck in it.
but
That's why it's so big.
more fluff means more room to store secret animal friends.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Alternatively, you could loosen the slack on the scarf and have it hang down a bit further. Come around
Mm-hmm.
like that and have some fluff pop out the top.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh, that'd be fun.
yeah,
I
that'd be
keep
cute.
I keep seeing this and thinking that she needs to have like a beanie on, like a raggedy beanie that's sort of matching the same quality of the scarf.
That'd be cute.
That's not a beanie. I'm bad at drawing beanies.
Accessorize.
I really like just that like bit of back marking there, and like how the belly and the end of the hooves are like a lighter color. That feels really good.
Uh-huh.
It's those kind of details that like a lot of artists just don't really do, and it
Mhm.
really kind of really looks good.
So I was moving the legs down to be closer to being in position with the the back legs a little bit, but I also wanted to experiment with doing pulling the sort of her right front leg backwards a little bit, just to create a bit more of a sort of dynamic resting pose instead of being sort of having all legs in a kind of stoic position. It feels better to sometimes to have them uh, tucked in sometimes like this, just to make it feel a bit more natural and relaxed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think especially with posing, like one of the things that I try to focus on whenever I'm like doing or thinking up poses is like a really simple way to make them more interesting is to make sure that your pairs of legs are doing different things. Like for example, you could have like this leg back, and then this leg like a bit forward or something like that. Or, one leg doing this, one leg, the other leg sort of going back a bit, or even like up in this kind of like, standard kind of pose. Just having like the legs next to each other do different things can like really make it more visually interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's all stuff you can play with and mess around with. I think someone was like adding like a third color here to the cutie mark, and I think that's an interesting idea. Making it like kind of just pop a little bit more. Yeah. But no, it's good. I'd be interested to see more stuff from you, because this looks really nice.
Shall we move on to our next picture?
Heck yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Post more stuff and ask questions.
Bottom left-hand corner. This is by Superpoop. SweetieBot for the Bring SB Back project. What is Bring SB Back? Bring
SweetieBot?
SweetieBot back?
SweetieBot. I'd assume SweetieBot. Bring SweetieBot back. I don't know where she went, but sure. Let's launch a
Lucy.
rescue operation. Yeah.
No, Lucy 2 sticks just popped in Picarto. All right. So this person has no questions. So, Super Poop, on your next picture, ask questions. As the critiquers, we don't know what's going on every day, so we'd really love to know what's driving your picture, what's causing issues for you, what things are you having problems with, where do you want to go with your picture. These types of questions are great. You might have noticed that the AutoMod asked you some questions and asked you to critique people. Maybe listen to the AutoMod. It's a great mod.
It does more work than we do.
Yeah.
It literally posts on every single picture. I can't do that.
It also
Much
deletes like a quarter of the post that pops into the subreddit. It's wonderful.
Hey, that's, that's what we do.
There's so much t-shirt spam. I don't understand it.
Really? Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's heaps.
Something I'm picking up off the bat here is that SweetieBot lost her ear. She lost her ear. She needs the ear to hear. How's she gonna do bot things if she can't hear how to do bot things?
Probably has like a tiny like microphone somewhere.
It's just a
In, like,
hole.
yeah, I was gonna say like phones have like the tiny little hole. You can't see it.
I'm just messing around adding like a little window. Maybe do something like this. Try to have like 3D perspective-y stuff. Go crazy, go off the walls.
And something you can even do, you don't have to have your final picture be this large unless it's, for a background or something. You could very much just go on ahead and crop a majority of the space out. Like you could just keep what focuses, what's important to the image. And if you want to add like a whole room, of course, feel free. But since it's just so empty at the moment, feel free to crop out a lot of it's called dead space, just nothing really happening in it. Nothing's really important to show there. And get all the good parts right in the visual center.
Yeah, there's never a problem with cropping something out down to the basics.
So for your future pictures, grab some references. Someone wonderful in our Picarto suggested a piece of software that can help you start building up a hilarious amount of references. It is PureRef, PUREREF. Freeware, as far as we can tell, it's not spyware. It just allows you to drag a whole bunch of references onto it and start organizing and collecting them. References are an amazing thing. They are so useful and so critical to making your art better, because art is not made in a void. Go check out our sideboard for some more information on this. We have, under beginner guides and exterior guides and tutorials, there's some wonderful guides listed out on how to reference and compare and how to use those references and how to build up your horses and scenes. This information will extend way past just making horses too. We just like the horses. They're cute little beans. Don't be afraid of building up those references.
Sometimes the ponies are horrendous killing machines, but usually they're cute little beans. Yeah, so I'm not adding too much, just, little details here and there in the background to make it feel a little bit more interesting. I could even do something like big low opacity brush. Add a little bit of almost like shading kind of stuff around. Kind of get people to focus more in the center where everything's important. But yeah, good drawing.
All right, shall we move on to our next picture?
Heck yeah.
All right, our next one up is by, I don't even care. This is a pretty new drawing of mine. It's of Pickle and his cousin Derp, two characters from Mora Elizabeth in pony form. How did I do, and how can I improve? Your line work is very good. It is definitely improving. If we go look at some of your other pictures, you've definitely stepped up your game over and over, and it's showing. I think
you did really good.
Yeah. If you're looking to improve your coloring, that's a different thing than improving your line art. So asking questions for us is a very useful thing for helping us direct the answers to you of the questions you have. That's a lot of words of saying ask questions so we can answer them, because we don't know where you want to move with your art. We can give you general art tips, but without knowing exactly what you're looking for, it's hard. So in this case,
this is like the third or fourth post they've done that we've critiqued. So yeah, if you watch, please ask questions.
So your I'm going to start off with your coloring, because your line art's pretty dang good. Your coloring, it is cha 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 cha, and then we switch direction, cha 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 cha, and then we switch direction, cha 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 cha. You'll want to start moving away from that. And the only reason I suggest you move away from that is because it leads to a lot of inconsistency, a lot of error space that is formed up in the pencil crayon movement. Try and keep the direction the same, or at least very, very similar. I know you just want to rotate and do it, just like those lucky digital artists have to do. But as a traditional artist, you are limited in the, you have real world limits of the tools. You can pay your way out of this, but you don't have to. You can just work within the bounds of those tools. So in the case of these Crayola-style pencil crayons, shading or coloring in the same direction, so making sure your strokes are all in the same direction. They don't have to be the same length, but just trying to fill in the same direction is going to immensely help keep all this white space and directionality of the lines out of the image, and it'll make the picture look more cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard, especially on areas where you're like, but I just want to move around the arm here, but now I have to keep it all the same. It's going to be hard, but you'll build the muscle memory really quickly by doing it. And
Even things like the amount of pressure you put on your pencil. Like if you're just doing like hard scribbles all the way, that's gonna create those lines and make them more visual. I know even with cheap pencils, it's hard to avoid those lines when coloring, but if you give yourself a soft touch, and also, I recommend following the lines you have. So you have these two necklines, right? It wouldn't really make sense for me to go side to side. What I could do is follow, the flow of that part of the body. And even with the ear, I can follow the curvature of the ear when coloring in to get a nicer shape and how it connects. And even with the face, there's different flows you can follow. And with the arm, like I know we had these up and down arms, but if you follow the flow of the arm, things like that can help complete make the coloring. Even if you can't get rid of the lines fully, it goes with the flow of your line art already, so it feels a little nicer.
So something else that might help. It looks like when you're coloring in, you're holding your pencil kind of the same way that you would hold like a pen when you're like writing your name or something like that. What I would recommend instead is try to hold the pencil more at like an angle. Because if you hold it at an angle, what you can do is there's a lot more area the lead's going to actually like hutch. So basically what it'll mean is instead of, you can try it with just like a normal pencil. What should happen is when you hold it on the side, instead of like your lines looking like this, they will look a little bit more like that. Like a little bit wider, a little bit softer, all that sort of stuff. And if you color with this, it should hopefully help make your coloring look a little bit less scratchy and a little bit more just like, a little bit more filled in. Because when we're looking at pictures, seeing like, for example, all of the where is my thing? There. In, say, this bit of coloring, you've got all of these like, fairly dark bits of blue, but then you've got like the tiny little spaces of white in between them, and it's hard to not see them. But if you hold your pencil like you're holding a paintbrush and more on its side and stuff, it'll just fade things out and probably be a lot easier. Oh, and I also, with this background, I gave it a bit of like a touch of yellow over on this side and a touch of like purplish kind of colours on this side. Just having the background be like a different colour to the characters is useful. It helps it helps your characters kind of it helps people see your characters more easily. Small thing, no stress. Feel free if you chuck more stuff towards us to chuck us more sketchy stuff, like stuff that shows the underlines that you're kind of working with and all that sort of stuff, because it could be really useful to see how someone thinks. Yeah, exactly.
All right, shall we move to our next picture?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
All right. Our next one up is... I'll find it one day. Somewhere here. There it is. It's by
It's right next to
Swap Swag. Trying out a new style / rarity. Any tips on the legs?
Oh, fun.
Well,
I do like how they're...
Sorry, Texicone has a question for us. This is more a question for me, but the wings on the green pony look like they're upside down, right? The folded going inwards.
Green pony.
Back on the other piece.
Oh.
Yeah, they definitely aren't attached to the right location. I would have moved the wings up on both of them.
So when you're positioning the wings are kind of above and just behind a little bit the shoulder. So, for example, well, let me just have like a little pony here. Oh, look at them! They're so cool. So the shoulder is like around about here, ish kind of thing. The shoulder is like where the leg connects, and the wing is kind of just up a bit and behind. So. Oh my god. I don't know how drawing works. Please help. So this is like the leg, where the leg is, and all that sort of stuff, where the leg connects. Shoulder is like roughly up here. So this is like the area where the wing connects. And I like doing this kind of shape. You can do it on the other side as well. Just peek out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. My thinks is that this is kind of a product of following the show for reference, because the show does tend to push the wings down like that a lot, or make them into funky positions to allow for the animation of these kinds of hugs. And while this is probably 100% show accurate, we can do things that look different and more accurate. So it's that's where the choice comes from. I prefer to do as Pixie said, personally, to like that, but I do believe, yeah, this is a product of following this show.
So something that you can do to kind of, because all of these, Pegasus and all that sort of stuff, they're all like, a mixture of birds and horses and that kind of thing. So sketching from real animals can be really helpful. There's a site called Line of Action, and they have an animal drawing tool. So if you just search Line of Action animal, it'll show up, and then you can basically just get like a bunch of pictures of birds or horses or dogs or cats to reference, and mess around with that and see how it goes. That's what I did to get a lot of my wings down and stuff like that.
Hexapon says thanks.
Brilliant.
Back to this blue horse. Trying swap swag, trying out my new style of rarity. Any tips on the legs? First of all, thank you for asking a question. We really appreciate it.
Yay. Free critiques forever. Because you asked a question.
Free critiques forever.
Well, they were going to get it anyway. It's just, yeah.
Lovely food for legs.
Yeah. Really good job on...
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to mention, good job on having the legs in different positions, like this one back here, this one there, boom, and then boom, boom, boom. Something that I like to think about is like the hooves nearest to us, like, this is side on, so the hooves nearest to us can be like out, and then these two back hooves can be in, because that helps with like balance and all that sort of stuff. So I tend to think about that a fair bit.
I do really love the fluff going on here. It's consistent in its approach.
Mm-hmm. It feels soft and good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if the color on the horn is like a bleed from the mane, but I kind of like the idea of her having like a faded horn.
Very much not the standard rarity hair. This is more like final scratch.
This is her frizzy Like this is a fashion statement in itself, but this is her like non-combed, like going wild sort of phase for like a season.
Yeah, yeah. So my lines aren't very visible, so I hope you can actually see it. But just with this like kind of rump area, I just bring, because like it looks like these are very solidly planted and these are like, kind of almost being pulled forward. It kind of makes sense for this like rump area to kind of just be pushed forward a bit as well, beyond that like kind of angle there. Or at least that's how I draw it. But this is really cool. I like how you've done the whole face area. That's really, really interesting. I would say with this chesty kind of area, make sure you fill that out a bit. Like especially like under here, good to like plump that out a bit, because that's where the ribs and the organs are.
It's just marshmallow. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay, that's where the marshmallow fluff is. There we go. Fixed it. Done. But yeah, in terms of the legs, I don't have too much to kind of bring up. Like this thigh-ish kind of part is a bit difficult. So I like looking at like real animals for reference there. Looks good.
All right. Anyone else have any other comments on this one? I think one thing that's bothering me about the front leg that's raised, the joints seem to be more canine feline. I think I definitely raised the elbow up a bit more towards the chest myself, but I think that's a me thing. This is by Jenna the Dragon.
I was wondering something similar actually. I think I agree.
Yeah, I could see that. This one here, this like downwards thing, a lot of that in horses is fairly close to the chest. So, like the the elbow, this kind of bit here would be like, probably be like up here, and then something like that ish. If you want it to be more equine, no stress. A lot of that is also dependent on your style. Looking at different animals and just knowing the proportions that different ones use can be a really big help when it comes to deciding on your style and your little flourishes and all that sort of stuff. I am compelled to want to see another ear behind here somewhere. It's like a little tip of it poking up. This one reaches up so high. But it looks good. Good picture.
Yeah. All right, anyone else?
No.
All right then. We don't have any other pictures submitted. If anyone have any last questions before we call it a day? Oh, Lucy Two Sticks has questions about art they posted.
Mind dropping the link to your post? Yeah.
Is there anything that Dreaming of Pony didn't cover that you have questions about? or any clarification that we might be able to help Dreaming a Pony with? It's on about 98% of the things we completely agree with Dreaming a Pony.
Are these messages in the Picato?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't have the Picato open. I do unrelated really like the cacnea underneath the canvas. Super cute. Now we've got cute birds and pandas appearing.
What's your other question, Lucy?
It's adorable, CPC.
I don't know how CPC does like such amazing art in this program. It's just like
Sold their soul to
greatest
the
art I've
devil.
ever seen. Yeah, fair enough. I haven't done that yet. That's my next plan. At least I got this little piggy-ish creature.
CPC.
What did she do?
Zoom out.
Oh, wait, hold on.
So they have issues drawing eyes, ears, and muzzle, and wondering if there's any tactics they could use to improve the placement and quality. References. If you go check out our sideboard on our subreddit, you'll find these two links called Beginner Guides and a second one called Exterior Guides and Tutorials. They have a great set of guides on using your references, breaking down your references, and making the most of them. There's also a guide on doing faces and ensuring that they measure or that the face is correctly positioned. There's one on measuring to comparing, and one on using pre-built structure or like referenced faces. Highly suggest checking out both of them because they are basically what we would say. Use refs even more than one. Cool.
Good. Yeah, I always recommend people use more than one reference. But a lot of it will come down to practice. And there's definitely tutorials out there, like Zamzam was saying, that we have on our sidebar of ways to break down the pony, or just like there's like ones where it tells you to draw a circle and then draw a grid, and then you can also do other mathematical diagonals to figure out all the other placements. There's many different ways. You ask 20 artists, you're going to get 20 different answers on how they formulate adding things. And eventually some artists don't even need to do any kind of building structure. They just kind of like, oh, here's an eye, here's a nose. They can just go because they've had years of practice. So please don't let that discourage you. Use building tools.
Years of referencing and practicing and stuffing it up and getting better. It's like one of the main things to sort of keep in mind is that like one of your main jobs is to keep yourself motivated enough to keep drawing. You know, it's all good to dig into questions and why and this and that, but make sure you're having fun with it as well, because the best way to improve is just to keep on drawing.
Literally impossible to improve if you don't keep drawing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid of any bad drawings. Bad drawings happen. They will always happen. Let them exist because that's how you learn. Like if you stop every time something goes wrong, then you'll never learn anything.
Bad drawings are good and useful because you drew something.
Exactly. That's the quote, right?
Yeah.
Bad drawings are good drawings because you made drawings.
Yeah, exactly. Done.
So one of the, as far as like placing things, using a grid like this, the separate or the split face where you draw a curve across the horizontal line, one across the vertical line, very, very useful. We use it all the time because it sets out a baseline of where things are going to be placed. From there, we get to start loading up our objects on our face. So we go ahead and load muzzle.exe, and then we load i.msi, and then download some rips that eventually find us illegal torrents for mains. They just kind of go crazy, but hey, they got files on there. Not sure where I was going with there, but you wanna separate the face and create sort of a grid line for yourself. Use your grid lines. But it's also a confusing part for me. So, what's confusing about it? Is it where exactly things go on it? Or is it how it gets placed? What's the confusing element?
Mhm.
See, they say the eye line. Some people have the bottom of the eyes aligned with it or have it going through the eye itself. Now, neither one is wrong. This is a situation where you have to make the choice because it's your grid. You're using it to help you. So if you want to have the base rule of, okay, so I draw the circle and then I draw the X, you can have whatever base rule you want for your style. So say you want the bottom of the eye to hit the line. That's the rule you follow. It can be as simple as that. You just have to make that choice. And if you want something a little more show style, you'll notice that the show doesn't quite do it in half. It's more like the face is divided into fourths. So the muzzle will be placed further down here. And again, the eye will start here because the show style has huge, big eyes. They got big, big peepers to see all the cute things in the world.
Mhm.
But and that in itself, that's the rule, right? You're going to be like, okay, my eye starts at that line. Again, you're choosing that rule to help you build your drawing.
So yeah.
Yeah,
So
keep going.
something that I have done to kind of, I'm just making some space here. Something that I've done a fair few times to help me kind of build up my style stuff is I'll get an empty canvas, fairly big empty canvas, and then I'll get a bunch of pictures from artists that I like. These can be, any kind of pictures. They can be sketches, they can be full painted pieces, they can be whatever. With stuff going on in them and all those kinds of things. And what I'll do is I will make them really low opacity. So, for example, I'll go and I will put them in a separate folder or on their own layer and make that really low opacity. And then what I can do is come back in and try to draw over the top of them the simplest representation that I can. So, just head, neck, legs, that kind of stuff. So, for example, if I was doing it with this one, let me make my line fairly big. So, I'll do that first. Okay. So I've made this low opacity. And then I can come back in and go, all right, here's like the head shape. Here's the muzzle, where the muzzle is, where the eyes are, kind of where the ear is, the neck, the body, the legs, and I might even, do some stuff like use different colors for if there's like wings, or if there's a horn, I'll do it in like a special color, and I might do, the body in a different color to everything else, and then have different colors for like the front legs and the back legs or whatever. And then what I can do is I can just turn off the actual art, the low opacity layer. I can turn that off and just get a sense for how they proportion things, how those artists position things, how those artists use the kinds of measurements to their advantage. And, you can do this with a bunch of different artists with a bunch of different styles and with a bunch of different looks, and see kind of the variety in terms of proportions, in terms of positioning that artists have, and steal that for your own work. Once you see how an artist has made something, you can be like, I really like how these eyes are kind of positioned. Let's steal that. I like how these artists do their wings. Let's steal that shape. Use other art to your advantage and steal everything you can in terms of technique, proportion, this, that, because that's what art is. Art is like, having a bunch of influences and references and just making your own stuff. Hopefully that's helpful and not random rambling.
I liked your answers.
Hell yeah. Perfect.
You got any follow-up questions to that, Lucy?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Cool. On your next post, feel free, or I highly advise you to ask these types of questions. If you're having problems with it, point us towards those problems. Point us towards the parts that you're going, I'm not sure what's going on. Help. Because you can just throw up a picture and hope that it gets answered, but I doubt we're going to get the type of answers you're looking for.
And you can also let us know which parts you like, because, we might see your wings and be like, hey, when you're doing wings, you can do this and do this and do this. But it turns out you really like your wings, and that the advice that we give doesn't help you. So, letting us know what you like about your picture can also be really useful.
Oh. Hello.
Hey, what up? We're just finishing off.
My internet died suddenly, but I'm back.
Oh, no.
All right then. Thank
Awesome.
you. Oh,
No, I was just saying, awesome.
Before we leave, can the stream see CPC's wonderful Pokemon art on the bottom?
yes,
It's so
you
good.
can. Look at
It's
that
really
horse.
good.
The cactus. It's a cactus horse.
Look at the cactus, and look at that bird, and look at my
They're
weird
cute.
pig pony creature.
There's a lot of things going on with blobbies here.
Most
It's a lot of
terrifying
nightmares.
canvas to date.
Oh my god.
Oh
Silly.
no! Oh no!
If your artwork has been defiled, you can file for compensation.
What have they been impaled on Rarity's horn?
Don't ask.
Oh my gosh, I don't like this.
The biblically accurate blobby is my favorite, but like
I
the
love them.
blurred blobby scares me the most because it's like he's aware of us. He
Same.
sees into us.
I love that you made it blurry. That's such a good quality.
I love how it's blurry, but there's like the less blurry like shine on it. It's like that combination of
Motion
everything.
right into the screen.
Oh
I love
god.
And yeah, Lucy, put it even if you are gonna be here, put it in the Reddit post so that we can see it beforehand. We like to do a little prep beforehand
Yeah.
and see who needs help and who has
Yeah,
questions.
just to sort of go over what
So-
advice we might give.
Because we might not select every single picture for critique. We might only select ones, or we might prefer ones that do have questions on them. So having the question in your post makes sure that we know, yes, they read the rules and they have something concrete they want answered. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Plus, if something comes up and you can't make it after all, that way we have your input into what you want to improve on. We can help you.
Yeah, we can chuck you the YouTube link.
Mm-hmm.
LD posts the YouTube videos very, very quickly. It's like literally 2 minutes after the stream is done.
Yeah, it's like magic.
That's university
See, words
internet.
are good. Words are good. I like to think critique is a conversation. It's not something you're supposed to be told. It's supposed to be something you talk through with somebody. Because we need
That's
your
very
input just
good.
as much as you're seeking input. I think it was mentioned earlier, like you could be drawing your cute cartoony ponies and suddenly someone's like, draw realistic horses and only draw their bones and muscles. You can't draw anything else.
Huh.
And that's no fun. That's not good advice if you're not interested in that. Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, good drawing.
heck yeah.
Keep it up. Don't stop. Don't ever stop.
Don't stop. Belly.
All right. So thank you all for coming. We'll see you again next time. Bye.
Goodbye.